Here we are back under Slick Rick, and today we're going to look at the downpipe situation. Kind of been going back and forth with them about what they want to do with the bullhorns and what style they want to go with, and I think we've pretty well got that narrowed down. So now it's just getting the pipe out of the car. One thing on this car, which I'll show you how close we are right here. You can see it's just going to barely miss that. On this side the same way. But one thing that you deal with on chassis cars is most of the fast ones have a staggered wheelbase, and this helps them with the timing light and stuff, but it kind of makes the fabricator's job harder because you're trying to get the pipes to look the same on both sides, and you've got one wheel that's like an inch further forward than the other, so you've got a whole lot less space on the, in this case it's the passenger side on this case, than the driver. And you got to try to make them look the same. I had to go through the same thing on Jared's Corvette, the C7. So it's just part of it. But usually I'll do the hard side first, and then I'll try to make the side that has the most room match the other side. So when you have everything pulled apart, it doesn't look stupid. So what I'm going to do now is try to get it laid out. Just use some yellow tape. We got some piping over here from Race Part Solutions. And what I'll do, just like we did on the cold pipe, just use some yellow tape and kind of mock up what we need. Might even use some scrap out of the back room or something so we don't have to cut up our good pieces. But we'll get this side out and get it kind of set up, and then we'll make the other side. And it'll be slow going, it always is, but that's how it's got to be. You don't want to rush through it, you end up wasting a bunch of material. So that's what we're going to do today. So it is Monday of the following week. I didn't get as much done as I'd hoped to on Slick Rick last week. Joey was at the beach fishing, and I was here by myself for Friday itself, and I was running around like crazy. So back on it this morning, Monday morning, and you can see behind me the tip is out of the car. Some of you might have seen the social media posts, us goofing off. I actually had it like that. Said something about a 5-inch needle to inject that gap when the car gets done. But being real, this is the tip cut that we're gonna do. This one's really, really rough. This is a piece of scrap I had in the back that I just put on the bandsaw and kind of experimented on making this cut. This is the first time I've made a cut like this, but it's actually 3 cuts. Just to explain it a little bit, it is just a straight miter cut, just from here to here. I don't really know what angle or whatever, I just kind of eyeballed it. So then you lay it down and you start your cut here, and when you're cutting this direction, when you feed the pipe, you're rolling it like that. and eventually your blade comes back to the middle here. Then you do the same thing on the other side, and that's how you get the kind of swept back teardrop look. This is what Black Sheep has on it. This is what they wanted, so that's what we're going to do. So obviously it's not going to be that tall. It's going to be right here at the body line. This is where it's going to stop. Kind of more of a subtle look than what Black Sheep is. So I put a level up here and transferred that body line mark across here to the tip height. I'll take this on the bandsaw and I'll cut it off once we get both sides mocked up. This, I put a little sweep back on this right here because the front tire, when it turns, it needs to clear, and you can see it's pretty tight in there, so that's why we put that on there. But I will weld this joint right here where my finger is, but this joint right here I will not until the very end. Get both sides mocked up, get both tips cut, make sure they're looking at us the right way, and then I'll go back and put some tack welds on there and fully weld everything up. But you don't want to weld anything all the way up, period, until everything is mocked up and you know what it's going to look like. Because if you do, then you're going to have a big headache, because if you have to cut through one of your welds, then the pipe ain't going to fit the same as it did before you welded it, and you're going to have to do a lot of backtracking. And I've learned the hard way. I still learn the hard way all the time doing that, but if I can avoid it, I try to. So we're going to try to get the other side mocked up now to match this one, and then once we do, we'll start trying to address the cuts on these tips and stuff. So on the time lapse, I really didn't show every single detail of this process. There's a lot of test fitting, a lot of taping, a lot of measuring, cutting, recutting until we get it right. Anybody who has done 2 of anything on a car, especially downpipes where they're coming out, you want them to visually look exactly the same, but there's no way you can get them exactly the same. They just have to look that way. So this is what we got behind me here. You can see I took a good bit of length off that leg. It was a full length 90-degree leg that was on there. And what I did, I talked about it earlier, I put the level across the body line right there, and I made the mark across there to cut as far as the height. So with the digital angle finder, I matched the layback. Let me get down here where you can see. If you look dead on these, they're kind of laid back this way, so I matched that angle, which is about 6.5 degrees, and then they're also laid out like towards me about 3.5 degrees off of flat. So I'll match that within a couple tenths of a degree on both sides, and we should be good to go. Right now, I've got the last joint taped on and the other joint tacked. I've got it on both sides like that. And I might have showed you, yeah, I did show you at the before I did the time lapse, the style tip that we're gonna cut for this. Well, what I did, I took that tip over on the bandsaw, and I think I also showed that in the time lapse, and I cut it really, really short. This way I can set it on top of the tip, and I can send them pictures and figure out exactly the way they want to do it. So I can send them many picture examples, and they can, you know, hash it out, whatever they want to do. And then I can mark the center line of these cuts on these tips, because I've only got one chance and this tip will be ruined. I'll have to use another mandrel bend. So fortunately, I mean, it won't be that hard to copy now that I've already got everything and it's not welded, it's just taped. So I just got to get that figured out with them first before we proceed there. So I'm going to take some pictures, I'm going to send it to them and let them figure it out, and then we'll cut these tips and then we can start welding everything up. What I've done here is give them options 1 through 5. Who's going to be the lucky one? So they picked option 2, which is what you see here. So what I've done, I've placed the tip in the option 2 position, and I have marked the center line of the sharp point. I've also marked the center line of the flat back there, and I'm going to try to mirror it on the other side, and that will give me a starting point to cut this. And what I actually might do is take this tip that I've made for mock-up and cut the sides off right here, or maybe cut it here, and then put it down over this pipe and let that spread over, since it's pretty thin right here. And then I can trace the template for my cut around there. That way my cut is the same on both pipes, because this is kind of like a freehand cut. There's not really any, or I can't think of any real way to measure. You just basically are putting the pipe up there and just letting it flow through the blade. So it'd be better to have a line to follow. So that's what I'm probably going to do, is just split this tip and give myself a template around there. So let's get started on that. They actually look pretty good. I wasn't really a fan of the extreme teardrop, but on this car, I like it. So looking at it, measurements say they're really, really close. Visibly, you cannot see any difference side to side. And we are ready to weld this stuff together. So I'm gonna actually crawl under the car and tack everything with it on the car like that, just to make sure. I've got some lineup marks and stuff, but still, I'd rather do it on the car, knowing that it's exactly in the position that I want. Then pull it off the car, and if the pipe is a little bit out of round or something like that, I can squeeze it on the bench and tighten it up if I got to. But some stuff like this, I'd rather just tack it up on the car. That way when I take it off, I know there's not going to be any difference once it gets over there on the bench. So let's weld it up. So everything is welded up now and it's ready to go back on the car. What I didn't talk about, I put O2 bungs or wideband bungs in the downpipe. They asked to put them on both sides because they didn't know which side they was going to use, or if there's, I don't know why they would use two, but sometimes people do. Anyway, these are about maybe 2 o'clock or maybe 3 o'clock as far as the rotation on the pipe. That's where Fuel Tech and most of the people say to put them instead of dead on top of the pipe or dead on the back. You want somewhere like 45. So that's about 2 or 3 o'clock. Everything welded together pretty good. What I didn't show, when I had to watch the camera battery because this GoPro batteries, they die super quick. But I went around and I put a bunch of tacks on the aluminum tubing, because when you're welding in a bunch of bends like this, the probability of it breaking a tack and opening up a huge hole whenever you're in the middle of a weld on the other side of the pipe is pretty high, especially if it's stressed in the bend is when you really got to worry about it. In a straight section, it really doesn't matter that much because it's not trying to, you know, pull. But with a bend, the metal is stressed right there already where it was pulled through the bender, so it's more likely to get out of round and stuff like that. So you want to make sure you got plenty of tacks around there to hold it in place. Another thing that I did, I welded all the flanges on the inside. Somebody asked me in one of the comments if I always done that on aluminum, and the answer is yes, I do. I think it just gives it some extra strength. Aluminum is, you know, it's melts easier, cracks easier. It's lightweight, that's the benefit, but welding on the inside just gives you double the hold on that flange. And plus, this flange is going to have the weight of these pipes hanging off, you know, out by the car. I'm going to try to figure out some type of support that I can get, but the frame is like right here at the flange, so there's not really a whole lot of support I can get out there unless I do some type of weird gusset or something like that. But I'll see what I figure out. Right now I'm going to just put everything back on the car, get it clamped up tight where nothing's going to move, and then we'll pull the front end off the car and see how it looks. Well, I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I haven't even sent the guys any pictures yet since I put everything together and welded it up, but they like the way the tips cut, and that's the only thing that really mattered as far as proceeding on. So I'll show you what I was talking about here with the clearance. You can see it even more so now. You can see I can put my whole fist through there, and you come over to this side and no go. But it makes me feel good that when I set the pipes on the bench after I was done welding them, whenever they relaxed into their position after they got, you know, rolling around, they was almost identical, like the tips touched almost exactly. So I know the pipes are the same on both sides, and that makes me feel good. That makes me feel like the day wasn't wasted. So you can see in here where I put the wideband bungs, kind of on the inside out of the way. This way, when if they ever have to take these tips off, they won't be having to take widebands out or whatever. They shouldn't have to take these things off. I don't know really why you would, unless you just want to, but we pulled the front off and everything with these in place. I tightened all the clamps up where it wouldn't rotate, because I'm going to come back, like I said, and put some type of tab right here that will help support this, but it will also be a lineup tool. because when you got long tips like this that are on V-bands, if you don't have some type of bolt flange with nut search or something to line it up, you'll put this thing on, eyeball it with the front end off, go to put the front end on, then go out there and make a pass, and your tip's crooked, you're looking stupid, and then that photographer is going to get that one picture before something goes wrong, or you don't race for the rest of the season, or it might be the best picture you ever got of the car, and there's that stupid looking tip because you didn't really have a way of lining it up before you put the front end on, and it's too late now to go back and change it. So I don't want that to happen to these guys, so I'm going to make a lineup tab that prevents that keeps them looking sharp all the time. Sharp like that point. Don't fall on it. So that wraps up the downpipes besides that tab, and I'll do that later. I think next we're gonna address the fuel tank, which will be somewhere on this side. I really don't know after seeing the front end on the car. The front end is just barely above the shock tower. So the fuel tank is gonna have to be really weird shaped and really shallow to be able to get in there above all this piping and stuff, or else I'll have to reroute the wastegate dumps or something and put it down here in the corner, but we'll cross that bridge. That's gonna be our next project though. So thanks for watching, and don't forget it's 2021, so if you watch this video years down the road it won't apply, but our Black Friday sale is going on right now for the next 2 weeks. It started today. Discount code Black Friday, all one word. If you've got a roll cage in your order, do Black Friday roll cage, all one word, and that's the 2 discount codes that you can use. That'll help you save the most money on our stuff. So check out the website, rock-solid-motorsports.com. All the links are in the subscription. You wouldn't believe how tongue-tied I get whenever I make these videos. This is probably like the 5th take of ending this video. I'm really rough on a GoPro battery. So see you guys next time.